All right, everybody, thanks for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I am your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, what really drives and motivates these top professionals above and beyond everybody else, and what I would like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Shanon Schinkel. Shanon, thanks so much for being on the episode.
Thanks, Greg.
This is really exciting. I know there's a lot of people out there that just cannot wait to dive in. So let's go ahead and just go through the regular series of questions.
Okay.
Give everybody a little bit of background on who you are, what you do, and just to get to know Shanon a little bit more. Is that cool?
Yes, it is.
So let's go ahead and just, I guess, introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little bit about you.
I feel like it's super important to tell you first that I am horrible on camera.
This is great, everybody. So this is a good start.
I apologize in advance for looking horrible.
Oh, come on, get out of here. You're good.
But I have been in the industry for 15 years.
Fantastic.
I'm married. I've been also married for 15 years, and I have my stepson just came to work with us. He just graduated college.
Wow.
And I have 2 kids at home, 11, Lucas, and Bella is 8.
Okay.
So I was pretty busy.
Very cool. And as far as having it be a family affair, how did that transpire, with that coming into play?
It was he went to college on a ROTC scholarship.
Okay.
So he is in an officer in the Army now.
Wow.
Kind of thought he wanted to go active duty, and then decided, maybe I don't. And it kind of worked out that I'll teach you. You have to start at the bottom.
What an awesome opportunity, and kind of paying the dues and from somebody better in the business. So that's stuff. Tell everybody a little bit more about what got you into the business and your progression over all this time. 15 years in the biz. That's a long time.
Okay. So when I met my husband, he is in real estate. He does commercial and investment stuff.
Fantastic.
He hates emotions. He hates all the stuff that goes in with residential.
Okay.
So he stays with the numbers and the investor people. But at the time, he owned a mortgage company because he felt like he'd like to know that deals were getting done when he had them.
Okay.
And he kind of said, you're really good at talking. If you can find a way to communicate with realtors, you'll do great. And I feel like he didn't mean that as a compliment, but I took it as one.
No offense, everybody.
I don't think he enjoys all the talking I do.
Right.
But he said that, and I was
Sure.
like, no. I went to school for marketing. I felt like I was going to write the next Super Bowl ad. Wow. So I was hesitant. Okay. And then back then, you didn't have to be licensed. You didn't have to do anything. My friend Sarah was like, hey, I'm going to buy a house. And I was like, oh, good. I'm in mortgages now. So that is how I got started.
Okay, which is a killer story.
Unfortunately for Sarah. Okay. That was my very first moment.
You're like, thanks, Sarah.
She's like, can the seller pay my closing costs? I was like, no, that's not a thing.
Wow.
Like I knew.
Like it's there. So going back 15 years to now, I mean, again, with the regulations, that's adjusted so much. I mean, literally, you didn't have to be licensed.
It was a crazy time.
Wow.
And it was good for me because then Sarah closed, and then I told my mom, I hope Sarah buy a house, and she needed a refi. And slowly, I started getting referrals, and it built into something.
Wow.
I worked at KKTV for 3 years,
okay,
full time, and then I did mortgages part time on nights and weekends. So luckily, I didn't have to be fully vested back then because I couldn't have been. So
Sure.
It worked out really good.
I think that you bring up a really good point for all the other professionals that are out there, even if they're getting started, is in all reality, it's nice to be able to have something else going on while your ramping up period is transitioning. A lot of times it's hard to go all in, through that time process, right? So
yeah, I didn't.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so going into that process, so what led you up to, I guess, the level that you're doing at and the reputation that you have? Obviously, there's got to be a pretty strong why, Shanon. So what does that look like? Bed in the morning, what really drives you and motivates you to do what you do?
I feel like it's changed.
Okay.
So in the beginning, it was survival. Like I was in the industry when the market crashed, and survival. I had no other choice.
Okay.
And that is what fueled me for a really long time. Luckily, I kept going. But now my why is a little different. And I've heard other Titans say that, and I absolutely agree.
Sure.
My why now isn't survival, because my family, we've done good.
Yeah, sure.
But now I have all
out there, and as you addressed, there's been some other Titans on the series that really shows that you should be able to that. Everybody was watching. Come on, Shanon.
You might be fired.
Adjustment into that. A lot of that has to do with adjustment in business and markets, and you've been through quite a bit. So looking back on your career thus far, if you could pick and choose maybe one or two things just for pieces of advice, what does that look like for you in your business, Shanon?
It kind of started with my husband saying, talk. Realtors as a whole are frustrated by lenders because of the lack of communication.
Okay.
I don't know how to do mortgages. I don't know how to do anything else, but I can talk.
The rest will come.
Over communicate so that realtors can focus on what they do best, which is sell homes. Buyers can relax a little because they know what's going on with their loan, and so communicating has been the thing that, like, I'll just talk you to death and I'll wear you down.
Sure. but that's huge though.
It unfortunately it sets me apart.
Sure.
Unfortunately, because there's not everybody does that, but fortunately, because then people remember me and they're like, oh, you're the talker.
You actually communicate with me when it's necessary, and then above and beyond. But I think that's huge, and a lot of professionals can take a note to that to say, look, you really need to keep people in the loop. It's important for both sides of all transactions to really know what's going on, professionals and consumers. So it's obviously worked for you thus far, right? I mean, so that's good.
Luckily, I never tire of speaking.
Oh, gosh. There you go. So everybody communicate. That's a big no. So hopefully everybody took that. So that's really good advice for the people that are out there. When we go into, is there another piece or?
So that was the biggest thing.
Okay,
that was
cool.
Kind of what I built my business on. And then later, more recently, like, I'm going to increase the level of service. So I feel like rates and good customer service, that's expected. That's not anything spectacular.
Okay.
So I tried to do things where if a realtor refers me a buyer, I want that buyer to say, thank you. Thank you so much for introducing me to Shanon and her team. So we implemented gifts at 6 different touch points throughout the process.
Wow.
We send messages and gifts to the listing agents. We try to make it a great experience for everybody involved. And that sets us apart because that's above and beyond. It's expected to get a mortgage, and I feel like we try to go the extra mile to make it a little bit more memorable.
Right. And I think that anybody who at that top level that you're at, again, you're a part of that group, it is those extra steps. Everybody can, have a good transaction and provide, the regular run-of-the-mill customer service, and consumers just go on with their way. But going above and beyond is what continually separates those top producers and why you're a part of that group. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that that's a really good, and again, go that extra mile, everybody. I think that really does hit in any industry, residential or commercial.
Okay.
So let's go into the slightly more challenging question.
Okay.
Now, when it comes down to that, it's not easy airing out your laundry in front of everybody, that sort of thing. But if you could look at a time, that you dealt with a challenge in your life, that you overcame, that you became stronger because of it, what does that look like for you, Shanon?
I feel like There was a time when the market crashed,
Okay.
and I feel like I was in a horrible place in my life. Financially, I feel like my marriage was kind of circling the drain.
Sure.
Like there were days when I did not even want to get out of bed. And the only reason I did is because I had a 1-year-old.
Okay.
And I remember a friend of mine had suggested watching the movie The Secret, and I did, not expecting anything.
Right.
And at one point, which was the most memorable point for me, they said, wherever you are in your life right now, it is because of the choices you have made. You have gotten yourself to this moment. And prior to that, I was like, oh, it's my husband's fault. Oh, it's the market. It's everybody but me.
Right.
And then I felt that in my heart and was like, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for this. And I can either dwell in it or I can change it. And and I chose to change it. But it was a hard time. It was definitely, I didn't want to be a mom. I didn't want to be anything but sad and just stay that way. So so that was kind of the moment that I was pick yourself up and go make it happen.
And I love that you had that mentality and mindset, and bringing up, family, having that 1-year-old, right, to really look at that as far as motivation. And that's a piece of your why into it. But what, as far as the challenge is concerned, what was that turning point for you? Obviously, watching the movie The Secret and having a different thought, but what really just, I'm done with this, I'm going to just push past it?
So the movie was I need to do something differently. The act of getting there is a lot different.
Okay.
Like you can think positive thoughts, you can think unicorns and rainbows,
Right.
but at the end you're still broke.
Sure.
So then I changed everything. I went to counseling. I read books. I did everything I could, and at that time the big motivation was changing to be a better mom.
Wow.
I wasn't sure if I was gonna stay married. I wasn't sure if I was going to stay in the mortgage industry, but I knew I want something better for my son. And it was a lot of work. I mean, that was like 10 years ago.
Sure.
And it wasn't overnight. Like, now I'm positive, now I'm awesome. You know what I mean? It took a long time getting there.
Sure.
But I wrote blank checks to myself. Like, I'm going to make this much in 1 month.
Very cool.
I added zeros to my bank account. I wrote letters, like 5 years out, and was like, look at all the things that have happened that are so amazing. And then I just was like, how am I going to get to this point? Like, this is where I want it, what I want it to look like. What can I do today to get there? And I read books. I modeled people that I admired. I interviewed people in other industries. Like, I did whatever I had to do to not be that person who didn't want to get out of bed anymore.
I love that. And that's ultimate drive. That's a huge show and tell for your character. Because if you had lesser character, lesser drive, you would have let it defeat you. I think that we all deal with challenges in our life. I mean, anybody out there watching, we all know we go through these things, but it's what we do, not so much that happens, that really makes a difference. How do we handle the situation? Get back up. I mean, people say, you fall off the horse, get back up. I mean, it's true. And that's what separates the top people and top producers in any field, in any business, that way, is the mindset that you just represented. And it's not easy. You literally said that. It took time. It took a lot. It didn't happen overnight, everybody. But I think that's a real testament to you and your character. So that's really good stuff. And thanks for the share, because that was not easy. I mean, again, it's kind of private information, but it gives everybody a window into who you are. So let's go into a slightly softer end here. One of my absolute favorite questions. So if you could go back in time and give your younger self, in any time period, a piece of advice or two, right, personally, professionally, what would you say to younger Shanon?
So I feel like business advice or anybody advice is kind of fake it till you make it.
Okay,
right?
Cool, yeah.
And that's not my advice.
Right.
But I felt like I tried really hard to be the ultimate professional and to appear like I had everything together.
Right.
When, as you just know, I was about to like I was circling the drain.
Right.
But I didn't want anybody to know that ever.
Okay.
And I feel like as a result of trying to hide that, for a lot of years I hid who I really was. Like, I would not tell anyone I had problems because I didn't want anyone to know that. I felt like, oh, they'll look at me differently. I did not have a personality when it came to business, or, I was very guarded. I was very, probably fake, and I wasn't really who I am. And it was through the steps that I just told you that I felt like, it's exhausting trying to be somebody I'm not. It's exhausting trying to be professional. Let's joke and let's say funny things and let's drink and then make fun of each other.
I love it. I love it.
That is what I would tell myself. Because
Okay.
I feel like I wasted a lot of years not really being who I am.
Okay.
So, and who I am is funny.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, we were talking about that. No, but it's good. Everybody, seriously, she's great. I mean, it's just being lighthearted and being able to joke around and show a sense of humor and a portion of vulnerability. That's huge. I mean, you don't want to be a stick in the mud. And when I think to most consumers and people who resonate to you and your brand, there's a time and a place for your professionalism.
For sure.
But hey, let's have fun while we're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the overall vibe that you generate. I mean, again, your reputation is fantastic out in the community, the people that we both know and just out there in general, it's fantastic. So, but a part of your humor is there. So if you could go back, you would just tell yourself that, hey, be you a little bit more.
I would.
Okay.
Don't pretend to be somebody that you're not.
Okay.
Because it did not serve me well.
I love
And it was
that.
so many years that I wasted not being in true relationship with people, not connecting with clients, business people, even my family and friends, because I was trying to,
on 24/7, literally
yes,
on.
and pretend I had no problems, which made me completely unrelatable. And I
like Shannon's perfect. Gosh, what's the matter with it?
And the truth is, Greg, I'm a hot mess.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. I think that's important too, and as I talk to a lot of professionals as well, and I think that when it comes to brand and awareness of yourself, I think that there are so many people out there that's gonna hit them hard, and home is we're trying to walk on eggshells. Not everybody's gonna like us. That's okay. People who get us and care for us the way that we are as an original person, that's who we want to work with anyway. But that's easier said than done, right? So I think everybody out there, just remember what Shanon said, because that's really deep, important information that a lot of professionals could take to heart. So that was good stuff.
Well, thank you.
So let's go into the feeding of the mind question into this portion. So, literally when it comes down to it in the past or right now, I mean, what books are you reading, podcasts you listening to, maybe influencers on social media? What does that look like for you?
I am the least techie person that I know.
Okay. So social media is out.
Say that I have all these influences on social media, but I don't know how to hashtag, I don't know how to tweet.
You're good.
But I do have a business coach. I hired them a couple of years ago to keep me accountable.
Wonderful.
And to make sure I was doing what I know I needed to do.
Okay.
I mean, we know what we have to do. It's just the matter of being disciplined enough to do it.
Perfect.
For me, it was easy to make excuses. It was easy to be like, oh, I'm busy. I'll start that tomorrow. I'll start that next week. Like that diet that you never actually start because I'll start Monday because I have an event this weekend.
That's right.
So the business coaching program that I hired, the core, they've been amazing at holding me accountable and helping me do what I know I needed to do. Okay. I probably have 3 different self-help books that I listen to and read at all times.
Love it. Love it.
I feel like I could sell them. Okay. I have a whole library. If anyone would like to read any of them, I have them all.
She said it. It's on record. I'll have a list of everything below. So
it's on Kindle, so I don't know how to share that because I'm not techie. If you know how, call me.
That's
so
awesome.
It's an old book, but I feel like Raving Fans was the book that made me realize I have to do more. I have to do more than just close a deal. I have to be memorable. So that was a big influencer. Okay. Right now I'm reading The Miracle Morning. I am the worst morning person ever. I hate it. I would get out of bed at 10 o'clock if I could. Okay. But I can't. Sure. So now I'm trying to wake up and be zen instead of grouchy and saying bad words.
Which is crazy that you mentioned that, though, and I think that's going back to every single top professional in Titan on the series has a different walk, a different vibe. Some are morning people, some are night owls. I mean, ultimately, success is success, and you find your groove and whatever works best for you, and you just do it. So.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person.
You're like, nah.
I feel like I have to be. I wouldn't work out otherwise. Okay. I hate it. I'm a grouch. Don't talk to me.
That's right. Mornings, not unless after the first coffee, everybody.
Second.
Yeah, third maybe.
And then I'm reading You're a Badass at Making... Oh, am I allowed to say it?
Yes, you are.
Sorry.
This is an adult program here, so this is good. No, so cool.
You're a Badass at Making Money.
Okay.
And it's like The Secret. What you think about, you bring about. And for making money, and it's awesome. It's written by this author who talks like we do, and who's funny, and who makes it relevant.
Love it.
I'm reading that for the second time right now.
Okay. So I mean, there's a lot of good data inside there. So I mean, everybody, as always, I'll have all those books and the coaching program that you're a part of in the comments down below, so you can kind of follow along and learn like Shanon learns, which I think is good. At least some things inside there. Is there anything else, or are you good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay, cool.
No, I'm good.
No, that'll work. That'll work. There's plenty of info in there. So this has been fantastic. There's so much information, so much background and knowledge into you, and I feel like I know you even better, so hopefully everybody else does. But let's wrap this up with the last question.
Okay.
So this one is kind of a summary of who you are as an individual, personally, professionally, you as a brand. If you follow a mantra or a quote that you live by, what is that for Shanon Schinkel?
For me, it's whether you think you can or you think you cannot, you are right. And that was from The Secret, and I embraced it, and I teach my team that, I teach my kids that. Anything you want, you can go get. Like, it will be hard, it will be challenging, it will be frustrating, you'll cry, but you can do it. And the thing, if you think you can't, no, you won't. So
okay.
That would be the thing I want people to know.
Okay.
You can overcome anything.
I think that a lot of people can hit home with that too, and that's a part of your mindset. Again, your influence in the community and your professionalism is all there, but it's because you feel that you can, and you have that mentality, and you've learned, you've grown, you've really adjusted, and you continue to do so. So I think that a lot of people could take that mantra or quote to heart in a lot of different ways. So that was really, really good stuff. So I definitely want to officially say you are a real estate titan. So let's fist bump that one. So this is awesome. It's official, everybody. So thanks so much for all your time and attention, everybody out there. Really appreciate it. For another live episode of Real Estate Titans every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, different Titan, different location. We'll definitely catch you guys on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. So see you later, everybody.
Thank you. I totally wanted to tell you that I make really good broccoli.